Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, and hello to you. Welcome back to another video. Question: what's the one visual thing that all nations around the world have in common? Answer: a national flag. Now, some designs are questionable and others, like these 10, are very well designed. Now, don't expect to see the British flag on this list because I'm British and it's the best flag. I mean, if it wasn't good, it wouldn't be on so many other flags around the world now, would it? Plus, it's iconic, has a very rich history, is instantly recognisable around the world, and has even been featured within the fashion industry. So, with that little rant out the way, here are 10 countries with well-designed flags. Number 10. New Zealand. This flag is very similar to the flag of Australia. Both feature the Union flag in the top left corner and the Southern Cross constellation to the right. However, New Zealand's Southern Cross features 4 red, 5-pointed stars, each inside their own larger white star. New Zealand is one of the very few countries in the British Commonwealth that have kept the Union flag within their national flag's design, alongside other countries such as Australia, Fiji, and Tuvalu. The flag has a long history and has been changed many times. This is a long one, so you may want to go get some popcorn. If you need to go to the toilet, I suggest you do it now. I'll pause so you can go do that. You back? Good, right, here we go. In 1830, the New Zealand trading ship, the Sir George Murray, was impounded at Sydney Harbour due to the lack of a national flag to depict where the ship had come from. 2 Maori chieftains were on board and were not happy with how long the ship had been sat there, so James Budsby, a British representative living in Waitangi, invited 25 Rangatira to his farm to help choose their first flag. 10 years later, in 1840, the signing of the Treaty of Waitangi stated that they had to fly the Union flag due to them being a British colony. In 1865, Britain was worried about the legality of naval ships being used in New Zealand's war. So to solve this, they passed a law that stated all ships that were used by the colonial government must fly this flag. It had the Union flag in the corner, on a blue background with the badge of their colony to the right of the flag. Governor Grey established what this badge should be. He suggested the seal of New Zealand, but it was too complicated. The Southern Cross, a constellation of stars, was also suggested but rejected. Finally, the words New Zealand written along the bottom were suggested, but this was shortened to NZ and placed in the bottom right corner of the flag. In 1869, the 5th Governor of New Zealand, Sir George Bowen, believed that New Zealand needed a more permanent flag. He tasked Lieutenant Albert Hastings Markham to design the flag. Markham was in Australia on board the HMS Blanche, where some flags were already using the Southern Cross, including the HMS Blanche. It has been suggested that this could have influenced the final design of New Zealand's flag, though this cannot be proven either way. However, this may explain why the flags of Australia and New Zealand are so similar. Then in 1898, their ships were ordered to carry the colony badge in a white disc by the British Board of Trade. By 1900, Kiwis had a massive sense of national pride due to the Boer War. So 2 years later, in 1902, the 15th Prime Minister of New Zealand, Richard John Seddon, introduced the Ensign Bill. It was passed by Parliament and that flag became the official flag of New Zealand. In 2015, a referendum was organised to let the people of New Zealand decide whether they wanted to change their flag or not. The general public submitted designs for a new flag. Over 10,000 designs were submitted, but this was narrowed down to 40 flags by the committee. This was 39, however, after one design was disqualified as the design was copyrighted. Then they were narrowed down to just 4 designs. One of the flags that was very popular amongst the final 39 was not included, and after an online petition signed by more than 50,000 people and a bill proposed by the Green Party, the design was added to the final shortlist. A vote was held, which the general public picked their favourite design out of the final 5 designs. 1.5 million people voted and chose the winning design, which was a black, white and blue silver fern. In March 2016, the final vote was held to decide which flag should be used, the new design or the current one, and people chose to stick with the current design. Number 9. South Korea. North and South Korea were not always split, with the country being known as just Korea. Korea has had a very long history dating back to at least 18 BC, but we'll skip forward a bit to 1876 because otherwise we're going to be here all day. During the negotiation of the Japan-Korea Treaty of 1876, the delegate of the Empire of Japan displayed the Japanese flag, but South Korea, known back then as the Joseon dynasty, didn't have a flag to display, so they had to create one. A few different designs were put forward, similar to what the Chinese flag was at the time. However, they chose to use their own traditional symbols which already featured on the Joseon royal standard. On the 27th of January 1883, the flag was born, and the government proclaimed it Taguchi and was used as the official flag of Korea. In 1905, Korea became a Japanese protectorate, and 5 years later, in 1910, they were fully annexed into the Japanese Empire. After the Second World War and Japan's defeat, Korea regained its independence but was still split into a communist north and a democratic south by the US and the Soviet Union. However, both North and South Korea still use the same flag, with North Korea flying it alongside the flag of the Soviet Union. In 1948, North Korea changed their flag into their current one. South Korea chose to keep their current flag, with their government declaring it was the official flag in 1949. In 1997, the South Korean government made the colours on their flag defined through their presidential decree. The white background of this iconic flag represents purity of the Korean people and their peace-loving spirit. In the centre sits the circle divided equally and in perfect balance, with the red section representing Yang and the blue section representing Yin. Both Yin and Yang, according to Oriental philosophers, symbolise the great cosmic forces of light and dark which oppose each other yet achieve perfect harmony and balance. On the flag, it also symbolises the creation and development. Around the circle are 4 black trigrams, just like the Joseon royal standard I mentioned earlier, except they were halved from the 8 to 4. These represent the process of yin and yang going through the spiritual change and growth. The 3 unbroken lines in the top left corner represent heaven, whilst the 3 broken lines in the opposite corner represent the earth. The trigrams in the top right corner represents water, whilst the bottom left represents fire. Number 8. Nepal. This very unique looking flag is instantly recognisable. It is the only flag in the world that doesn't have 4 corners or 4 edges. The flag ditches the traditional rectangle or square shapes and uses 2 intersecting triangles instead. This could possibly be the most mathematical flag in the world, as the mathematical construction used to create this flag is written in Nepal's constitution. The triangles that make up the shape of the flag represent the most famous landmark in Nepal, the Himalayan mountains.
The mountains look like nipples.
Well, you can't just call a country nipples.
What about Nepal?
Ooh, I like that.
Each triangle features 2 different white symbols upon it. The sun represents the intense determination, whilst the moon represents the peace and tranquility. The background of the flag is the colour crimson red, which is the national colour of Nepal, and is surrounded by a dark blue border, which symbolises peace. Number 7. Bhutan. The uncommon colour combination of yellow and orange, as well as the stylised dragon that appears in the centre of the flag, makes this one of the most unique in the world. This small nation has a very long and rich history that is tied in Tibetan Buddhism. Bhutan is one of the very few nations in the world who are purely Buddhist, with roughly 1 in every 100 citizens being a monk. This is reflected on their flag, as the orange is used to represent Buddhist spiritual traditions, whilst the yellow section of the flag symbolises the civil traditions with Bhutan. The dragon that equally covers both the orange and yellow is Druk, the thunder dragon. He grasps jewels that represent protection and prosperity of his people, whilst his snarling face is said to be a sign of the dragon defending Bhutan. Number 6. Spain. Spain's current flag harkens back to those that were flown by the Spanish Navy under King Charles III, which featured the Spanish coat of arms. Seeing the vast amount of flags that featured white at the time, he chose the red and yellow colour scheme mainly to avoid incidents whilst meeting foreign enemies at sea. The coat of arms was dropped when Spain was under dictator Francisco Franco's regime before being reintroduced back onto the flag afterwards. The design of the Spanish flag, as we know it today, was adopted in 1981 when two white columns surrounding the crest, one either side, to represent the Pillars of Hercules were added. Number 5. Canada. This iconic maple leaf was a symbol of Canada even before the Confederation in 1867. However, it wasn't until 1965, nearly 100 years later, that the country had its own official flag. A vote was held, and it was unanimous that Canadian historian George Stanley's design would be used. However, a few minor changes were made, the main one being the design of the maple leaf itself. The original design had 13 points on the maple leaf, but this was changed to 11, as with 11 points the leaf was easier to see from afar rather than the 13-pointed maple leaf. Although many different flags had been used for the military purpose, that lack of national flag was a source of contention for both the English and the French-speaking Canadians. Both red and white were named as the official colours in 1921 by King George V. Avoiding British and French symbolism, the flag had a single white stripe which a red 11-pointed maple leaf sits upon. This is sandwiched between two red stripes which represent the ocean on either side of the country. Number 4. Brazil. This iconic flag will be familiar to any fans of international football, or as some of you may call it, soccer. Each of the 5-pointed white stars, 27 in total, represent each state. The stars also match with the 9 constellations as they appear in the Brazilian sky on the morning of the 15th of November 1889, which is the same day the Brazilian Republic was established. The blue circle that the white stars appeared on is featured within a golden diamond shape that is placed in the centre of a green background. These are all elements that were carried over from the Brazilian Empire. The Brazilian motto adorns the white banner, which drapes over the blue section of the flag, which flows in the line of the equator. Ordem e Progresso, which translates to order and progress, was inspired by the French philosopher Auguste Comte. Number 3. Barbados. A national contest was held to choose the design of the flag, and it was adopted in 1966 when Barbados earned its independence from the British Empire. The flag of Barbados features an appealing colour combination of a single yellow stripe surrounded by 2 blue stripes, one on each side. Featured within the centre of the flag is a top of a broken trident, which is coloured black. This broken trident harkens back to the trident that was featured on the flag when Barbados was a British colony, whereupon Britannia wielded it. The broken trident symbolises that the country is breaking away from its colonial past and free from foreign rule. Number 2. The United States of America. The American flag goes back as far as the American Revolution, when 13 colonies, then under British rule, came together to fight for and win their independence, which you Americans celebrate every 4th of July as Independence Day, or as I call it, Ungrateful Colonials Day. The United Colonies were represented by the 13 stripes of both red and white. The British flag was kept in the top left corner. The British flag was soon replaced by a blue banner with 13 stars, which were arranged in a circle. Over time, more and more stars were added to represent the number of current states in the Union, 50 in total, with Alaska and Hawaii being the last states to be added to the Union. The 13 stripes remained consistent. This flag's design has had such an influence around the world that other countries such as Malaysia, Chile and Liberia have similar looking flags. Even American states have taken inspiration from their own country's flag, with states such as Texas, Georgia and Ohio, just to name a few. With Hawaii appearing to take inspiration from the older American flag, as it still has the British flag in the top left corner. Number 1. South Africa. This flag has a lot of meaning attached to it. In 1994, the apartheid ended, which in turn ended the legal discrimination and segregation of black and white people, as well as bringing the whole population closer together and more united. To commemorate the beginning of equality and the new government, the flag pays homage to both their African and European roots, with the colours representing the different people of South Africa. The Y shape across the flag represents the African National Congress colours of black, yellow and green, with the blue section at the bottom and the red section at the top, both with one side outlined with a white stripe, representing the history by calling back to the flags of the Netherlands and the United Kingdom, who share those colours. From a visual perspective, it is a very colourful flag and it is very visually pleasing and recognisable. So, what do you think? What's the best designed flag? Let me know in the comments below, and don't say your own. Unless you're from the UK or any of the nations whose flags featured in the video, then yeah, go for it. Let me know if you'd like to see a worse designed flag video. I'm umming and ahhing about whether to do it or not, so either way. Also, I will say, I quite like the look of the potential New Zealand flag. Like, it looked quite nice, the new one actually. Anyway, if you like the video, don't forget to drop it a like. If you want more videos like this, then hit the subscribe button and hit the bell icon so you never miss a video. I'm also on Twitter and Instagram, so feel free to follow me there as well. Links in the description below. Thank you for watching, and until next time, DJ, rock the bass.
Yeah, I'm free falling, can you hear me calling for you? Yeah, I'm free falling, I'ma keep on falling.